Hi there, my name is Zachary Otto, and today we're going to be looking at some data that was collected from FIFA. This data is going to be talking about a couple different things. Really, we're looking to compare different aspects of a soccer player and try and figure out what the best soccer player, what some of their attributes might be. Having high attributes in each one of these sections doesn't necessarily mean you're a better soccer player, but it could point to the fact that you might be better than the rest in some aspects. So some of the things we're going to be comparing here, we're going to be comparing height versus balance, weight versus sprint speed, and then the nation and the international reputation of that soccer player. This data is all collected from FIFA, and it's been compiled in here in Tableau. The first thing we're going to be looking at to compare here is going to be the weight versus the average sprint speed of the soccer player. As we see as we go farther over here to the right, the heavier the soccer player we're seeing here, is going to have a lower average sprint speed. So an average sprint speed of 31 here for a soccer player that's looking at 234 pounds. If we go over here to the left, we see that a very light soccer player at 110 pounds is going to have an average sprint speed of 75. This is very similar to American football in a way, if you will, because a linebacker at a heavier weight is obviously going to have a much lighter sprint speed, a much slower sprint speed, I should say, and a lighter player, such as a running back, is going to have a very high sprint speed when compared to that. Another reason for this is the fact that lighter players have less of a need for higher oxygen use. You could say they have a lower VO2 max. Also, there is less mass to move around. The body mass index of a soccer player, averagely speaking, is going to be between 20 and 24.9, and then the average weight is going to be between 136 and 169 pounds. So when we look at somewhere in the middle there, if we say 150 pounds, we're looking at an average sprint speed of 71. On the lighter end, 136 pounds, we'd be looking at, say 137, just for rounding up sake, about a 73.25 sprint speed. So on the low end, that's what we're looking at right there. And on the high end of 169 pounds, we're looking at around 65.32 or so. So the next thing we're comparing here is going to be the height of the player and then the average balance of the player. This is an important comparison to look at because balance is a very critical part of playing soccer. Being able to do the proper maneuvers and navigate around your opponent is a big part of the game and really can help separate you from the rest of the competition. A player with a very low height, 5'1", is going to have an average balance score of 92.67. And then at a very high end here, if you have an average height of 6'9", being your goalies most likely, you're going to have an average balance of 32.5. The reason for this is because the center of balance in a shorter player is going to be a lot closer to the ground. Also, a little fact about this as well: the shorter player is going to have a lower incidence rate of back injuries as well. The average height of a soccer player here in FIFA is going to be 5'10". So when we look at that, the balance is going to be about 70.6, which is still very good. And the goalies, for most cases, are going to tend to be about 6'2". So we're going to look at a 52.49. So when comparing these two, you're looking at about a 20-point drop in height or balance score, and that's all right. You figure most players out in the field at 5'10" are going to be doing more maneuvers, whereas most players that are goalies are really going to be more worried about having that higher height to block off more space in the goal. So the final comparison we're going to be looking at here is going to be the nationality of the soccer player, and then the international reputation that they hold in FIFA. This is an important thing to think because a lot of people that are watching FIFA or playing FIFA are concerned about the nation that they're playing for. They're concerned about how the world views them as a whole. So a couple interesting ones to look at here. The first one we're going to check out here is going to be Croatia, which is going to be right here. It has a very high score of 1.278. Interestingly enough, football in Croatia is called Nogomet, and it only has a population of 4 million people, but we see that it has a very good football team, as it's called in this country, or as it's called in Europe. Another interesting one to look at here is going to be Democratic People's Republic of Korea. which is going to have a high international reputation of 1.250. The Democratic People's Republic of Korea is also more commonly referred to as North Korea. Um, it has a population of 25.49, so again, a little bit larger to draw from the Croatian. We're looking at really good players here. But again, we see that it has a very high national reputation. Now, if we go back to the first slide, again, all of these comparisons does not necessarily mean that you're a good soccer player. If you're shorter, it doesn't necessarily mean you're a better soccer player. If you're taller, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a better soccer player, or you're not as good of a soccer player. And if you're heavier, it doesn't necessarily mean you're not as good as a lighter player. But overall, when we're looking at this data, these figures may lean towards a lighter player being a more agile player, and a shorter player having a higher center of balance. Thank you so much for your time.